Greetings, Patrick here. Dollar Theater, the Voters Edition. Yeah, how about that? So, this week, after last week we did television, this week we went back to, we stayed in the same vein as, gentleness. Last week we did sort of comedies, action, adventure. This week we did a Hallmark week. That's right, we did a Hallmark week. We decided to go with a multi-pack mania. So we put 4 Hallmark movies here, and then we let you guys vote and see which one that me and the Cheetah would watch and talk about. And let you know that Paladin stays for the entire movie. Not kidding. The whole 90 minutes. So he stayed there, and he stayed right on my feet, and he watched the movie. What can I say? The Cheetah likes Hallmark. So this is the 4 movies that we had a choice at. Thicker Than Water, Angel and the Family, Fielder's Choice, and Ordinary Miracles. And what makes this really unusual is the fact that this was put out before the Hallmark Channel became the Hallmark Channel. Now, they did a lot of movies for syndication and other TV stations and whatnot, but this is actually before Hallmark is what it is now. These movies were put out in 2004, 2005. Ironically, though, the movie that you guys did pick is Angel and the Family. And what's really unusual about this, or ironical, it's a Christmas movie. You can't escape it. You can't escape it. This is the only Christmas movie in here, and we're watching it. So Angel and the Family stars Ronny Cox and Natasha Gregson Wagner. That's Natalie Wood's daughter. Tracey Needham, who was great in J.A.G. And a surprise, the biggest surprise about this movie was John Pyper-Ferguson played the love interest for Tracey Needham, Sarah. First time I seen him in a leading man role. Most of the time he's a character actor, and he's a lot of times he plays bad guy roles. But he played a very debonair, very, very cool leading man in this movie, and just knocked that out of the park. So basically, the movie is it's interesting. It's more of a drama fantasy, and what that means, it says Angel and the Family, so that should tell you right away, like, okay, and you would be right. There's an angel in the family. So the movie opens up, and we see that Sarah is, she's taking care of her dad. She's living with this guy that, he warms the bed, but there's really no love connection there. They're just, they're not connected. And a couple of days before Christmas, Joe decides he's taking off, and he's going to go, he's just going to hit the road and work. And so he basically leaves Sarah behind. Sarah's dad gets ill. And so then we meet, we see how their relationship is. He's playing a piano and it's not doing very well. He keeps missing a note. So, Sarah and Buddy, they're just trying to, she's doing the best she can by him. And then, of course, Beth is in the big city. She's working for an ad agency, and she's working on this big presentation, multi-million-dollar deal. And but Buddy gets sick. He has a mild stroke. So Sarah calls Beth and says, "Hey, can you come out here? Because Dad's pretty sick." And so she drops everything, including the account, and she flies out to see her dad. And when they get to the hospital, we find out their dad has actually has gotten dressed and taken off. But Sarah knows where he's at, so they go and they see Buddy on a bench, and he's talking to his late wife, Lorraine. He's sitting there talking to her, and he says it's really important that that they go home. It's important that they go home. He doesn't want to stay in the big city. He wants to go home. So Sarah and Beth, they're thinking, maybe their dad's sicker than they think. So they go ahead and and pack it up and head to the small town called Trinity, which is where they grew up at. Now we instantly know right away that Sarah and Beth are not close, not close at all. It really sounds like they really never have been close, even growing up. Sarah feels like their parents coddled them, and Beth, Beth always felt like Sarah looked down at her, and they just didn't have a good relationship. Well, they get to Trinity, but right before they leave, Sarah notices something a little strange. A picture, that popped up on Beth's desk. Beth's flying out, and it's a picture of her dad and her mom, and she's like, "Where did that come from?" And that gives us an indication that this movie is going to be a little bit more. It's going to be a little bit more, spiritual than most Hallmark movies are. So they do go to Trinity, and they going to do their best to have Christmas. Sarah meets not an old flame of hers, but an old flame of her sister Beth, who's married and who's married to a nice guy, and she has her own life. But Sarah and Alex, they meet, and they start talking, and so while they're in the house and trying to put together Christmas, small little things start happening around the house. Magnets on the refrigerator, mementos popping up, a neighbor wanting to come over they brings a recipe over that their mother was specialized making a meatloaf. And then but they're still sniping. Sarah and Beth are still sniping. Buddy's all in his own world. He just wants to have a great Christmas. He doesn't, he's just all he wants. And so Sarah's sitting out on the deck, and she's basically makes a wish. She says, "I just like to have a great Christmas. I just, I wish I could just talk to my mom, one more day, because her mom's been passed away for a while. If I could just get my mom for a day, I'd like to have that." And so the next day, or Christmas Day, rolls around, and you can guess what happens. Lorraine does show up, and it's going to take. It's not as simple as showing up. The girls have so many resentments buried into it would be a miracle if they can fix it all in one day, even if it is Christmas. We discover that Beth has her own insecurities about being a good mother. If she is not sure, she's not really sure she wants to be a mother. She feels like she's too young, and she really doesn't want to, and she's thinking about her career. Sarah herself, she's trying to figure it out herself. She's had a really a rough time of it. We find out, and again, this is interesting for a Hallmark movie back then. But Sarah is a very flawed character. She's she's an alcoholic. She mentions that she has to go to AA meetings and stuff like that. But she's a good person. She's good. She's flawed, but she's good. She's good at heart. And she just had a rough time of it, and because she always felt like she was always second best to Beth, and of course Buddy, he's off in his own world. But the mom shows up, and that's Meredith Baxter. She plays Lorraine, the mother, and she goes to work, and she does what she can to help the sisters realize that they're both loved equally, and maybe the parents didn't do a 100% good job at that, but it always was like that. They, basically since Lorraine's an angel, she's incapable of telling a lie, and so when she's sitting there telling her daughters, like, this is how it is. It is how it is, and she recognizes that. She recognizes they made their mistakes and flaws, and Alex is doing his best to woo Sarah, and they make a very cute couple. And so it goes back and forth. I will, as far as between Beth and Sarah and Buddy, I will say one thing. I like this movie. I like this movie fine. And it was directed by George Stanford Brown, who some of you may not know who he is, but he was a prominent African-American actor. He starred in a great TV series, fantastic TV series called The Rookies. And actually from The Rookies, we got SWAT. SWAT was spun off The Rookies. And it was a great show, and he was one of the stars on it. And then he slid behind the camera because he felt like there just wasn't much opportunity. He became a very fine director. And he did a nice job with this, except the only thing that I think that my only complaint about this film, and that's not necessarily Greg Stanford Brown's, but the stories does lag. It does lag. It takes a little time to get going, and it's sort of like a bottle movie. It's like they're all just in that one house because Lorraine can't really leave that house to go into town. She could go outside to the backyard, but she walked downtown and people saw her. That would probably raise a question or two. But she's got, and that's the only thing. And the sisters go back and forth. And at the same time, I'm saying it's slow and it's lagging. I understand why it is, even though I don't particularly. I sort of wish it had moved quicker, but I understand why it didn't, because the problems weren't built in a day, and they're not going to get fixed in a day, no matter who's running it. And God, Angel, Lorraine, it's not going to clear up. So what we get out of Angel and the family is a good start. Like you can see these people getting better at the end of the movie. They still have ways to go. They're still flawed, but they have a ways to go. But you can see them; they're moving in the right direction. So that is the Angel and the Family, and I really enjoyed it. It was a good movie. Good cast, really good cast. I always liked Tracey Needham quite a bit. She was in the first season of J.A.G, and then they after the second season, I'm not sure what happened with her, why she had to leave the show or whatnot. But they brought in Catherine Bell to take over the spot, even though Catherine Bell had played a murder victim in the first season, and they did address that. But I don't know what happened to her, why she lost J.A.G. But she's a very good actress, and I liked her a lot. I thought she did a great job. Like I said, Pyper-Ferguson, he played the lead. John Pyper-Ferguson, he played the lead. He stole the movie for me. I thought he shined every minute he was on the camera. Really good performance by him. This is a good Hallmark movie. One of the better ones I've seen. All right, that is it. We'll come up with another 4. We'll probably go back to some scares. Let you guys, it is October, so it's time for us to do some scary stuff. So look for that coming up here in a few minutes. I'll put the 4 movies up, and you guys can start voting on which spooky movie you want to see. If you're new to the channel, please hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, and drop a comment down below. And we will see you next week for Dollar Theater Voters Edition. Peace.